You're listening to the B4evaKool podcast. My name is Rex45. This evening we have Yoshi in the building, coming on the podcast. Welcome, man. How you doing today?
Doing well, Rex, man. I appreciate you for having me on. It's my first time being on a podcast, so.
Okay, that's what's up. Well, I mean, we'll talk about it a bit more because I've saw that you interview people and stuff like that as well. So,
Right.
it's pretty much the same thing in a sense. But no doubt, it might be different being on the other side.
Yes.
So yeah, let's tell the folks, how you got into riding. Like what was your first bike? Did you take a class? Did you just learn on the streets? Let's talk about your beginning days on the motorcycle.
All right, let's see. So when I was I think I was in the 5th grade, my mom got me a little Honda CRF 80.
Oh man, that's what's
But
up.
we lived out in the desert and everything. But the
Okay.
thing was, she didn't have a truck.
Yeah.
So she was a stickler for the rules and everything. So yeah, I had that little dirt bike, but I never really got to ride it because we ain't ever had no way to get the dirt bike to the dirt. So so that's how it started. And off and on, I learned how to ride on that thing, just the basics of it, learning how to change gears and starting first gear, how the clutch works, all that good stuff. And then I got my first street bike when I was about, let me see, when did I buy that? How old am I? I'm 30. I think I got my first street bike about 5 years ago, age of 25.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's all on my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is Master Yoshi. And I went with the Honda CBR 600RR. The reason I picked that bike was basically the aesthetics of it. I appreciated that undertail exhaust most of anything because I'm a big fan of symmetry.
Okay.
And let's see. When I was doing my research, I was finding that, the Japanese super sports, they're all relative in performance. And when I first got into motorcycle riding, I had no want to, do anything reckless on the street.
Got you.
I had no wants to be racing, anything like that. I just wanted a sport bike because growing up, that's something that I always wanted.
Right. Now, what made you do it at that point? Just timing or you had the itching?
It was good timing. I had let's see, I think I graduated college probably 2 years prior, and I was finally settling into my career. So it was just a good time to do it. Found a nice priced one. I think I got mine for about $4,000.
Okay, yeah.
And it was a 2009, so it was in great condition. I think it only had 5,000 miles on it when I got it. So yeah, it was just seemed like a good deal, and that's what I did. So it was interesting because I bought that bike with no intention of ever going fast, and then a few years later, it became a track only bike, and
right.
I don't even ride sport bikes on the street anymore.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say. So, what was that? I mean, I guess for you, you pretty much knew how to ride that because you had the dirt bike. It was just more getting like seat time, so it wasn't as new. As an adult, obviously, it's still a little. For me, it was still a little scary because I started riding about I guess like 12 years ago now, give or take, and stuff like that. And I started 15 years later than you did, so you know what I'm saying. For me, it was a little different. Now, when you got your bike, were you, did you do a lot of miles right away? Were you kind of like, the summer, it's the guys that just ride in the summer and then September come, they put up, or you riding all, I guess, where do you live? Can you ride all year round where you're at?
Let's see. I bought the bike when I was living near Richmond, Virginia.
Okay,
I was only living there for about a year and a half. And I think I bought that bike. I want to say I bought it in the fall. So I rode it for as long as I could until it just was, too cold to ride. I bought that bike with the intention of riding it a lot. I was commuting to work on it and all that good stuff. Even took a 500-mile road trip on it one time. And and I also bought it with starting a YouTube channel. I had that in mind as well, because with the style of riding that I intended to do, I figured that, practically it might have been better to get a cruiser, just because, again, I had no intention to be wilding out here on the streets, nothing like that.
Right.
But, Biker Boys was like one of my favorite movies growing up, so I had to get the sport bike. But, so I had no intentions of doing anything crazy. Damn, I done lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that?
When you bought the bike, you should have bought a cruiser.
Yeah. So, yeah, I still did the whole commuting thing, and I bought the bike kind of with YouTube in mind. So I
Right.
thought a sport bike would be more popular with helping the YouTube channel grow. So that was another reason why I wanted to go with the 600.
Okay.
But
Um,
yeah, like you said, it wasn't too scary for me. Both of my parents ride,
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
so it was it was interesting trying to convince the wife
Right.
that I won't be doing anything crazy, and I was pulling up all kinds of stats and all that, and basically drilled it into her mind that motorcycle accidents most of the time are at the fault of the rider. Of course, there's freak accidents where cars cut you off and all that, but even in those instances, there's things that a biker can do
Right.
to better mitigate those risks of being cut off.
Right. And she might not want to hear this, but falling is part of riding too. So I think if you have gear, I mean, I've fallen like 8 times, and I had gear for all those times. And if I didn't have gear, I'd be like missing toes and all type of things.
Yeah,
So like I'm a big believer in riding with gear because for the most part it will keep you safe.
for sure, for sure. That's what transferred me to becoming a track rider. So fast forward a few years, I started riding track. I could see what the motorcycle could actually do.
Right.
And then so I went out on the street. It was where I was practicing some of my track techniques. It was at this airport loop. So I mean, of
Okay.
course, it's not a track, but it's the closest thing that you could do
Right.
streetwise because there's no curbs, there's no oncoming traffic. So I ended up crashing at like 80 miles an hour,
Okay.
tore the bike all up. But I was all geared up. I even had my airbag vest on,
Right. Right. Right.
full leathers, all the good stuff. But yeah, wrecked the bike. And then I converted it to track and said, "Yeah, I ain't gonna do this on street no more."
And what was that like for you getting into the track, and how did you get into it? I mean, is it just from YouTube? Did you have friends that were starting to get into track or riding? How did you stumble into the track life?
I think it was just a progression thing with I don't know if I think maybe social media might have pushed me to do it because I moved to another place. I moved to Huntsville, Alabama,
Okay.
and so new city, no friends here, anything like that. And I think it was just the progression of my channel that pushed me to trying out track days
Right.
because even with some of my motor vlogs, I was always talking about how this bike how basically riding on the street, like there's so few things you need to worry about. And I was also saying that like riding a motorcycle is easy unless you're trying to go fast on the track. So I think naturally just the track was the next step in my rider progression.
Right. And so when you got to the track, did you think riding on the track was easy, or what were your thoughts when you first? Because for me, like
I Yeah.
and I'll say this, and well, one of my friends will say I did a track day because I got my license, but I raced the same weekend I got my license. So in I've been riding for I don't know, I guess 12 years plus, and I've done like 4 track days. Other than that, I've been racing, and so for me, like when I went out on the track, I literally was like, "What am I doing out here?" It's like because it's a lot different. No mirrors, can't look behind you. All these things. There's a line that you're supposed to see. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, that like I'm glad I stuck with it. But for me, it was just like it was a moment. So how was it for you going out the first time?
First time I went on track, it was a track day, of course. So it was I was in the novice group, and the organization I ride with most is Sport Bike Track Time,
Okay.
and they'll break up the novice group to the slow. So within the novice group, they'll break it up to into groups depending on how many instructors are there. So and depending on how many students, of course. So um, basically, they'll break it up into the most experienced novice and the least experienced. So I, of course, said I'm the least experienced. It's my first time on track, all of that.
Right.
And so they put me in the slowest group in novice. And that made me think that track riding was easy because like it felt so slow. And then when they finally let us get out on our own, I'm like passing people. I'm thinking, man, this is easy.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
then so that was what I was thinking until I went into intermediate and saw how slow I really was because when I before I got my street bike, I did take the MSF course,
Mm-hmm.
and those instructors really drill into you that you can't touch your brakes while you're in a corner. You need to do all your braking before you get to a corner.
Right.
So that's how I was riding on track
Oh, nice.
and
Yeah.
still passing people, but of course that's not how you get around the track fast. So yeah, when I started moving up into intermediate and riding with faster people, I was like, okay, yeah, there's a lot of work to be done.
Gotcha. And now, do you do a lot of track riding in a season? And have you done any racing yet?
Let's see. My first time on track, my first year in track. This is, I think I'm starting year 4 now. So year 1, I only did 3 track days. Year 2, I think I doubled it or did more than double. I think I did 8.
Okay.
And then year 3, I did more track days and started racing in year 3. And then I got the opportunity to become an instructor.
Okay, that's what's up.
So definitely got a lot more miles under the belt. So last year was my first year racing. I think I entered a total of maybe 6 races.
Okay, and which clubs or club?
With Wera, yeah,
Yep.
I was racing with Wera, doing 600 races,
Okay.
and yeah, so I wasn't too happy with my results. So I took a step back this year to focus on getting faster,
Gotcha.
and also saving some money because that racing shit. Woo,
Yeah. No, we have similar stories in the sense that the first couple of years was just a couple of rounds, and then for me, like I was originally grew up in Boston, and the closest track to us is New Hampshire Speedway. So I did, and so track days. Jersey would probably have been the closest. I mean, now they do like Palmer and the Thompson, some tracks that I probably in the last 4 or 5 years we can get to. So I mostly was just going to Loudon for I mean, God, from 2013 to 2019 before I went to a different track, and so. So yeah, but like 2015, I started doing all the rounds, which it was like 7 rounds, and at the time there were CCS and a series at the time, and the last couple of years they broke off to their own series and left CCS Azura. But yeah, and in 2021, after the pandemic, I did like pretty much all the CCS rounds from all the way from Florida all the way up, and that was like that was like the most riding I got in one season, which was if you can do it, it's unbelievable because when you're riding that much, you just get quicker. You know what I mean?
okay. And what are
So
you riding or racing on?
so I started out on an SV 650, and then I moved to an R6. I built an R6 2007 R6, and which I probably should have stayed twin because like I started riding on Ducatis. So and then I raced the SV, which is a twin as well. So like I was so used to that, and when I got my R6, it took me like almost like a year and a half to get used to riding inline four. To the point where I even bought a street bike just to get more seat time on it and stuff like that. So yeah, so I raced the R6, and then in 2022, so I got in an accident in like 2018, got a screw in my hand, lost my spleen. And I went racing like as soon as I could. My arm wasn't fully healed. I was riding the bike all wrong. By the time I got healthy, my body position was off. So I ended up getting a RC 390 KTM. And so I've been riding that the last few years, mostly racing with that. And now I feel like I'm in a place where like, okay, I can, either race my R6 or, look at like one of the RS 660s or something like that and go up in power again.
Okay.
So,
So you're definitely one of the ones who definitely prefers racing over track days, huh?
Yeah. And that's just because I started on it. And in hindsight, I probably should have done track days because it's hard to really work on body position in a race, right? You know what I'm saying? It's really hard to do that. So I find myself that I am doing more track days now these days just so I can work on these things. And for me, moving down to the RC, now I'm braking later. Now I can carry more corner speed. And now like you got to do all the right things on a small bike because if not, you're going to slow down. So it's like, so you pay attention more to your body position and stuff like that. So, and so I rode my R6 earlier this year and like I rode it last year, but most of my races was on the RC and like if it's like you'll have a small bike, then a lightweight bike, then a super sport bike, right? So it's like sometimes it'll be back to back races, and when you're by yourself, it's harder, than when you have people with you and stuff like that. So
Sure.
I was just like I was trying to pick races I can do the R6 in, but I ended up just focusing on the small bike. But this year and future, yeah, I definitely want to. I want some more speed again now than the RC. But don't get me wrong, those bikes are nice because it's fun. You can still jack yourself up, but it's still fun. And you can still get pretty quick. And it's also when you do track days and stuff like that, and guys on or women on big bikes, and you're passing them on a small bike. That also feels kind of good.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
So
Yeah, this year I took a step back from racing, but I do want to race the Grom. I've been seeing those Grom races that Weird does, and that
yeah.
looks like that looks like a lot of fun for sure.
Yeah, yeah. One of my buddies, he's building out his Grom to do some Grom races as well. I think Motor America is doing some mini races as well too. So there's opportunities there to get out there. But man, it's still it's still a lot of money you got to put into them bikes.
I'm gonna just do the wearer one, see how it goes, because I know every time they do it, they have some people on stock ones. So I
Okay,
just get out there at least once. I'm not trying to be super competitive on it.
right.
So yeah, this year, like I said, taking a step back. So yeah, I just want to get out there to see what it's like. And
Got you.
but yeah, that's one of the reasons I'm really thankful with being an instructor, because you get so much more time to work on those little things that you were talking about, especially like if you're coaching novice. Then
Right,
and a lot of things that some people preach is that you only work on one or two corners at a time and do those corners on opposite sides of the track.
right,
So when you get the opportunity to be an instructor and you get to slow down and you're not feeling like because that was one of the things, like when you pay for a track day, you want to get out and pretty much put like 90% in
yep,
each session you're in.
right,
You want to get your money's worth. So being an instructor is definitely a blessing. I
right.
definitely appreciate being able to slow down and work on those things to make you consistent.
Yeah, definitely. I not that I'm comparing myself to Rossi or anything like that, but I saw a thing where he's like, if when you go out on the track, if you're not working on something, why are you out there? And that kind of thing in practice, obviously not in the race. And it made me look at it differently, and again, made me like, okay, I should do some track days where I can just work on stuff, and not necessarily, like I said, trying to, you know, you get a couple of practice sessions in the morning, and then you got to go fast, and you're not in a race trying to figure out what your body looks like. You just trying to chase down the person in front of you, or you know what I mean, or maintain what position you have. But it's pretty impressive that in it seems like in about like 4.5 5 years, you went from doing some track days to instructing, and so it seems like you got up to speed pretty quickly. And did that surprise you, or was it more just kind of like you just immersed yourself in just trying to absorb as much information as possible?
Yeah, that's what it was. It's the latter for sure. Because I have that type of mind where I'm trying to figure out how things work, and so there's a lot of instructors that I was talking to while
Hmm.
while I was coming up through the ranks, so to speak. So talking to them, then also being a YouTuber and all that, I figured instructing would be a cool thing to do. I like being able to help other people do things. So um, yeah, I was talking to them, and they're the ones. Shout out to Cheetah 740. He's one of the coaches that got me into coaching. He,
Okay.
put a good word in with the head of STT and all of that. So that was really one of my ways in. And yeah, so I think I'm definitely not one of the fastest coaches, but I do have a pretty meticulous mind. So, and that's the cool thing about being an instructor too. You don't necessarily have to
No.
go fast, but
Right.
you have to, know how to talk to people. You have to know, you know, all those soft skills. So that's definitely what I bring to the table more than speed. And then of course, novice and intermediate, I can coach those folks up. But when it comes to, advanced riders where I'm similar pace, um, of course, I won't be too beneficial there.
Right. Right. And now, uh, before we talk about your YouTube channel and the whole YouTube world and all that, talk about some of the tracks you've been to, and talk about, like, your first time going to a new track. I mean, especially now as a coach, I'm pretty sure you approach it differently than when you first started. And so I assume you went to VIR because you were in Virginia, and no.
Didn't get a chance. Yeah. So when I lived in Virginia,
Okay.
I was there temporarily, so I only had an apartment and all that. So I didn't really start doing track days until after I bought my house.
Okay.
I was trying to be, financially responsible, and
Yep.
which I feel like is a good thing. If you don't have a house, you should at least have an apartment that has a garage, especially if you switch your bike to full track load out to where you don't have an ignition anymore.
Right.
And so yeah, I did it that way. So I didn't get to do any track riding while I was in Virginia. So living in Alabama, the only tracks I've hit are Barber.
Mm-hmm.
I hit that one a lot. Talladega, the Talladega Grand Prix.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's see what else. Road Atlanta. What's the other one in Atlanta? AMP, Atlanta Motorsports Park.
Okay.
Nashville Super Speedway. That was pretty cool.
Okay.
And Polecat Training Center. It's a small little. It's a crazy track. That track by far was the most work I've done on a motorcycle.
Okay.
I think there's almost or over 20 turns, and there's so many blind ones going up and down hills. It's a lot of work.
Okay. Okay.
But
yeah. I went to Talladega for the first time this year with the Pan American Series. I went to NOLA this year for the first time. I'm hoping to go to Barbara and Road Atlanta in the next 3 to 4 weeks with them. So I'm hoping to get there and see, because they seem like they're very fun tracks.
Ooh, you traveling far, huh? Man, how long was a drive for Tally, or how long was the drive to Tally for you?
That was about 10 hours.
Man, hold on, my bad. Screen went blank. What's going on here?
No worries. Yeah, but I've driven from Boston down to Homestead. So
Down in Florida, right?
Yeah. So when I lived in Boston, I drove to Homestead, drove out to Black Hawk, and so went out there. That's 20 something hours. I don't mind the drive, but now I'm probably like all the. I mean, being down in Florida now, like I'm probably not going to drive more than like 12 hours and get to a lot of tracks on this side. But for me going forward, I would like to just race or ride at new tracks. So I know I'm going to be, hitting the road anyway. And one of the tracks that I hope to hit is Laguna Seca. So I know that's like almost 28 hours away from me. But it's like, for me, that experience of going to a new track, setting it up, trying to figure it out, and try to be, obviously your first time there, you can only get so quick, especially at my level. I'm sure pros can come in and figure it out in that day or whatever the case may be. But like figuring out those tracks and that's having that challenge, and just going to more tracks.
Okay, yeah. So when I first started track riding, I more so was going to just enjoy the experience. Like
Right.
I never thought that I'd ever be racing for one. So.
Okay.
My goal was never really to come out and put down, crazy lap times. I didn't start running a lap timer until I started racing.
Okay.
Yeah. And so like the first time I went to Nashville Super Speedway,
Yeah.
I was definitely excited for that one because it was going to be a night event.
Yeah.
And I had never ridden on track at night. So I was excited for that, but I ended up crashing, which sucked because I didn't crack my helmet, but the helmet took damage, and I figured, I'll take that as a sign to chill out. All kinds of other bad omens were going that day. My bike fell over in the trailer. The dogs weren't eating. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this as sign number 3 that, I should stop riding today.
Oh, man.
But,
man,
but yeah, so.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, my approach to riding so far had always been just to go out and have fun, because I feel like I have to put myself in that mindset, because naturally I'm a very competitive person.
Right.
But also I'm a realistic person. So it's like, if I tried to go all into racing, I would definitely want to go pro at some point.
Right.
But then realistically, looking at my times, I'm like, yeah, I ain't never going to go pro. So might as well just enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, it depends, right? I mean, and I say that, and I haven't said this to anyone, but like, so in the Twin Series in Motor America, the age limit to age out is 55, right? So you got plenty of time to and the older dudes racing that class. You know what I'm saying? So and it's still a competitive class. So as I say, you got time to go pro. So that's one of my goal is to hopefully do a Motor America race on one of the RS 660s. So if everything goes well, I'll get one next year, next 2 years. Try to get some decent times and try to be more competitive and stuff like that, and see what happens. So you never know. And as my buddy said, Josh Hayes didn't start racing until he was 26.
Man, yeah, that's
Or
that
27,
ain't
something
people
like
off.
that. Say again?
Yeah, that I also feel like my biggest weakness is I got too much self preservation because
Oh, yeah. There's-
yeah, I try not to push too hard. Well, I mean, sometimes I do. Of course, in a race, it's different.
right,
You let all that stuff go during the race.
right.
But during track days and all that, when I'm following some people, I'm like, that don't really look like too good of an idea. So
Oh, yeah, for sure.
that's definitely a huge interest for me.
Yeah, no, I definitely do not race like, my paycheck depends on it or anything like that. You can have that space if you want it. I'm not, you know what I mean? And that's another reason why I race the smaller classes, because, it's different, than the 20 something year olds and the younger folks coming out and running. And for me, the last few years racing in CCS, like I had 2 accidents that weren't my fault. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? And then it costs you money. Airbag, suit goes off, exhaust, gloves. It's just, it's like the smaller classes is younger kids and folks my age that just want to have fun, but we're not gonna. We're not going to do what Martine and them boys are doing in MotoGP in the corner, or what Bastianini did to Martine the last race, last round, that kind of thing. So I do get that, and you see that on the bigger bikes, the 600 and the thousands, and I'm pretty sure as a coach, you see people come in there, they just say they just started riding and they're on 1,000. Right, and they go into turn 1 and they break the collarbone. You see that. So and I've seen it, and so for me, yeah, it's definitely self-preservation with a little bit of thrill.
Yeah. One of the big things with being a coach is interesting because of course, is one of the things that I like about coaching. People want advice, and it's always a disclaimer you got to give when you're instructing. Like, all right, I'm gonna show you some things, but you still gotta do what you're comfortable with.
Right.
Don't be risking life and limb out here. So it's crazy because so many times, like I'll lead people into corners, and and I look back and they're already blown off the track. They trying to keep up with an instructor, and it's crazy because you feel bad. It's like, man, damn, did I just cause him to do this?
Right.
So that's definitely an interesting point of coaching.
Yeah, I don't know how you get around that, because and I haven't coached, but I've heard people say, this is the first time out, take your time, and make jokes that you can lose it in this turn. And there's people that literally go out there and do that.
Yeah.
And it makes it bad for other people because depending on what happens, you gotta wait for them to clean up or whatever, and so your time could be cut down. And I don't. You've been doing it for about 4 or 5 years. I don't know. You might need maybe 20 years to maybe have a better understanding, because I don't know how you can stop that. Like that people coming in and doing stupid stuff. Like because you give them the speech and they still do it.
Yeah. Yep. So, but either those sometimes those customers are more fun to work with than some of the other ones who they just will not crack open that throttle, and it's like there's nothing else you can do. It's like, come on, man, you just got to turn that throttle on and let's go. But it's definitely, I still appreciate it, man. Of course, everybody learns at their own pace, so
right.
I'm thankful for it.
And before we go on to the YouTube stuff, now when you talk about the throttle, because I've seen folks online suggesting that they can start on a 600 or 1,000 as a beginner bike. And I started out on the 848, which wasn't a good choice for a beginner bike. And in hindsight, I should have started out on a 400. What's your thought on, or if someone asks you for advice about starting to ride, do you suggest the middleweight or the 1,000, or do you steer them to the smaller bikes?
So I believe, that's not a one size fits all answer because, I really think it depends on the individual asking, because I feel like the more athletic you are, the more level headed you are, then you can start on any bike. Because I know people who started on boosters and were fine, never had anything go wrong. And then I've seen people on 400s grab too much front brake and flip over the handlebar. So
yeah.
really, it's really, I feel like you just have to exercise good self-awareness with it because, of course, a motorcycle can only go as fast as your right wrist makes it. So
Right.
that's, and I even did a video on if the 600's a beginner bike. And of course, I said, my opinion might be skewed because I already knew how to work a clutch
Right.
from the dirt bike that I had. And then also, that's also another thing. If you know how to drive a standard transmission car and you have
Right.
that clutch concept down,
Right.
then you might be able to start on a higher displacement bike. So it's really for me one of those. I'll never say nobody should start on the 600, but I'll
Right.
also never say nobody shouldn't start on the
Gotcha.
600.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I'll go out on a limb and say probably shouldn't, but it could,
Yeah. So one of the reasons, one of my reasons is it depends on the type of rider you are too. So like if you want to start off on track, I would definitely say, yeah, don't do the 600. It's going to be harder to become fast and get those good tendencies down on that 600 than
right.
it would be on a 400. Because as you were saying earlier, you got to clean up all that small stuff, bring it in good entry speed. Because if not, you're gonna rely on your bike's power to make up a lot of time.
Right.
But for street riding and somebody like me, like the type of riding I was doing on street, I'm like, it doesn't really matter because shoot, I probably broke over 100 miles per hour less than 10 times less than 10 times on the street. So
Right. Right. Yeah. And I say that because you're right. It does depend what kind of riding the person wants to do. Because if they want to just obey the speed limit all the time, then it doesn't matter what they're on.
yeah,
But if they're gonna,
yeah,
then you
for
should
sure.
know when you should brake. You should know how what your lean angle is and how you should be coming off the bike and all this stuff. And that's the only reason why I say that. Because other than that, yeah, you're right. I started on a big bike. I survived it. I played with cars as a kid, and faster I go, the slower things happen, right? So, for everyone, it's different. But if you want to be a skilled rider,
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and then because then you
for
can
sure.
ride any bike after that. You know what I'm saying, and know what to
Sure.
do and know what to expect because that's the only thing. So I'm glad to get that take, but I don't want to keep going on about it. But yeah, let's talk about so you bought the bike to get into YouTube and stuff like that, and so let's tell folks about your channel and the type of videos you're making and how they can find you and all that stuff, and I guess what made you decide to get in front of the camera and chop it up.
Okay, so let's see. I was always, not always, but for a while, I had always been doing something on social media. Whether it be skits or at one point I even had some gaming content.
Okay.
I'm somewhat of a nerd, despite
Yeah.
pain showing in the paid in full. But yeah, back in college, I started playing Star Wars Battlefront. And
Mm-hmm.
I was good as hell at that game. I had I think my kill death ratio was like a 3,
Okay. Wow.
something like that. So yeah, then I even joined some gaming group or whatever. So that's the biggest content that I was creating at first. Started with that, then transitioned into Grand Theft Auto content a little bit, and then I was like, this is the same time I was wanting to get a motorcycle, and of course I started doing research,
Mm-hmm.
Googling and YouTube and stuff. And shout out to Cycle Cruiser, he was one of the first YouTubers that I saw. But
Right.
watching
Yeah.
his content, I was like, man, I could do it better than he doing it. Of course, that's probably what everybody thinks when they start
Right.
anything.
Right.
Like
Well,
you
that's
see
how you should
somebody,
though.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what it was. I saw Cycle Cruiser, I was like, man, I could do this way better. So I didn't necessarily get a bike to be on YouTube. I wanted a bike, but then I was also, doing the research, and I was like, you know what, this would be a cool adventure to do at the same time.
Right.
So that's how I got into YouTube, and the name Master Yoshi came from. I started my channel off, and I was gonna call it Two Trill,
Okay.
but I'm telling you, like how conscious I am of being safe on the street. So I was like, that name ain't gonna match the type of ride I'm about to do.
Right.
So
Right.
you
Right.
know, thinking back to my Grand Theft Auto gaming, and I started this. My character was like Asian inspired. It had like the Japanese Onin mask.
Yep. Yep.
So I was calling myself Master Yoshi with my GTA content. So I just made it into the YouTube thing as well.
Gotcha. I thought you're like into Oh no, God, I just lost it now.
Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, that and all the other Japanese cartoons.
Yeah, not so. I
Anime.
mean, I do like Japanese culture,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
like I'm not a big anime watcher or nothing. But I'm more so of a fan of like Japanese architect
Okay.
and in art.
Yep.
The cherry blossoms and all that, the Japanese style tattoos, that type of stuff.
Gotcha.
I really like. But
Okay. And so and what's that been like for you? Making the videos and putting that out, and what the audience has been like. And I assume you plan to continue.
yeah, so I started the channel about 5 years ago. I think I got monetized within shortly after a year.
Okay.
And then so all the research, again, I'm a big researcher. So all the research I was doing was saying it takes about 3 to 5 years for a channel to really blow up.
Right.
So let's see, last year was year 4, and my growth has been so stagnant. Like the same amount of subscribers or everything I was doing per month, like 80 to 100 subscribers a month. That rate of growth has been the same since year 1.
Okay.
So it got super frustrating. So last year I definitely toned down all the content I produce, and I've been trying all kinds of different things. I've got basic moto vlogs. I got maintenance videos, race videos, rap videos,
Okay.
rap with a W and rap with an R.
All right.
I've tried all kinds of different things on my channel. So yeah, if anybody goes to that channel, they'll see all kinds of different stuff because
Right.
I always felt like I've been a pretty creative person. So I definitely toned down my YouTube content this year as well. Took a step back from it, but the channel's still making a little bit of money. So I post content every now and then, especially when there's a request for something specific.
Gotcha.
Um
Gotcha. Okay.
and yeah, like right now I'm working on a monkey grip video.
Okay.
People have one of those on my bike, so working on one of those.
Right. And how do you like that? The monkey grip.
I'm very neutral about
Okay.
it. I know some people put it on and they're like, "Man, I'll never ride a bike without it again."
Right. Right. That's what I mostly hear.
Yeah, so I don't think it's a bad product or anything like that, but I think for me and my ergonomics, it hasn't made much of a difference.
Gotcha.
And one of the reasons I really wanted to get it was my first race at Barber. I was dragging foot peg, and so I was thinking, yeah, I need something to help me get off the bike more. But I was dragging foot peg during that race after watching somebody else's footage. During the race, of course, you forget about everything. So
Right.
I'm like basically neutral on the bike and
Leaning the bike
almost at
over.
max,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
almost at max lean angle. But yeah, so I look at pictures now with the monkey grip and before when I just had regular tank grips, and I really don't feel a difference, and I don't see a difference either. But it might be, well, for one, I think that rear sets are a bigger ergonomic upgrade than the monkey grip. For me, at least, it has
Gotcha.
been
Right.
rear
Yeah.
sets and clip-ons. And then the way the CBR tank is shaped, the tank extender or the monkey grip really didn't add anything different because my leg still fits on the bike the same with the monkey grip or without.
Gotcha.
But
And,
we'll do a money back guarantee, so I'm not going to discourage anybody from trying it.
right.
That's what they're big on. They say if you don't like it, send it back. But I'm gonna keep mine because the benefit of it is it's pretty easy to reapply and take off. And I change up the look of my bike every season, so
Yeah.
it's gonna
I saw
be
some of your
cheaper in
videos.
the long run. Yeah, it's definitely gonna be cheaper in the long run instead of buying tech specs every year.
Right. And now, when you change up your bikes, you're pretty much doing the work every year on your bike yourself.
Oh yeah, everything. So this year was the first year that I painted it.
Yeah.
Dropped a little video on that, but this year, like I said, I took a step back because it's painful putting in a bunch of effort into a video that it only gets 80 views. So it's like, so this year I took a step back and I didn't show the whole paint process. I showed steps through it and everything, but usually I was doing vinyl wraps
Right.
and
Okay. Yeah, no, I get that part of putting in the work, making content, and putting out content and stuff like that. Like I said, I did a radio show for a while and putting out content and trying to be active on social media. And it was only under 2 years that we decided to start doing YouTube videos or just videos in general, because we were just doing radio and podcasts as far as being on Amazon and Spotify, iHeart, all those places. But we never thought about in the studio in a radio station. We didn't have cameras, so I didn't even think of it. So like getting that and building out the page and stuff like that it is a process, man, and it's almost you got to be like Noah building the ark. You just got to believe and just keep going.
yeah. So that's one of the things I struggle with too, is because it's like, of course, anybody who became successful in anything obviously didn't give up,
right?
But at what point is it like, okay, I put in all this work? At what point do you say, you know what, this ain't working?
Well, so
that's the challenge.
I can't. I wish I could answer that, because believe me, you do have to find. I don't know what the right answer is. I mean, some people are already depressed at that point when they walk away from stuff, and you definitely don't want to get to that point. But I think that I can only speak what I do is we try to have a whole bunch of different topics that we do, and whatever works we try to keep, whatever don't work we just keep trying to reinvent the wheel and until something sticks, right, kind of thing, because usually it's I think once upon a time I was overcomplicating things too, and now I'm just not even like, just do it and not thinking like, because that I don't want to use that Jay-Z line, so you have to dumb down for the audience kind of thing, but you can't build it for yourself. You know what I'm saying? And because what your expectations and stuff is different. And so now I try, and this is recent, I try now just to do things and not necessarily put too much thought into it. And if it works, keep trying it. If not, move on to something else and try something else. Because if you're passionate and you're having fun with it, and that's still there, like I think that's when you stop having fun I think is when you want to walk away from something. But if it's success come and go and all that stuff, so I don't measure it by that, and I used to, don't get me wrong, I mean I'm a little bit older than you, so I used to, but I've learned now it's just kind of like, just if you can pay your bills and you enjoy what you're doing, then the universe will open its door eventually. It's weird like that, and I think so. And so for us, even recently, we've been doing fairly well recently, but it's like, I don't want to, I'm not complaining, but it's like, I was in a band for like 10 years, I did poetry for like, 10 years. There's a lot of things that you do and you're like, okay, well, I haven't, there's no awards I'm collecting for these things. Right. So, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, yeah, but I did it, and I was competitive, and stuff that I'm proud of the stuff that I've done and stuff like that. So I say all that to say, like, yeah, you never know, you never know what's around the corner, and I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and I was talking about business and how all this paperwork and all this stuff, and he called me by my government, but he was like, Rex, if it was easy, everyone would do it. And it just, he's just, I was like, all right.
For sure.
I just got to suck it up,
For sure.
So that said, so racing, do you think you're going to be doing more racing in the future, or combination of racing and track day?
Combination of racing and track day. Like, I want to be more competitive, especially in that middleweight class. There's so many bikes and so many fast people. So I would definitely like to be more competitive. Usually I can compete in the vintage 600 or the vintage 600 race, because it's I think winning race pace is usually not necessarily, but about a few seconds off pace, and it's easier to compete in there. I got my first podium in a vintage race. So I definitely see more in the future, but this year I wanted to step back and step the speed up. But like you, I try other things. I just got into stand-up comedy.
Okay, that's
this year. Yeah, did a couple of open mics, won a couple of open mics, so that's been pretty cool.
Oh man, that's dope, man. That's dope.
Yeah, it's been a journey in itself. So that's the thing though. So it's like, of course, with YouTube, I enjoy everything I'm doing in front of the camera. It's the
Hmm.
behind the work stuff, the behind the scenes stuff, the editing, framing, or like I even enjoy working on the motorcycle. But
Right.
of course, if you're going to try to make a video out of it, the time it takes to do that maintenance job you're completing is going to at least double.
Right.
Not to mention the editing of it. So um, it's it's almost like that meme with the guy digging for diamonds. The guy on the bottom stops and turns around, and the guy on the top is still going, and he's about to reach the diamonds.
Right.
Same time, what if nothing's there? And it's right for the guy who turned around to go back and start another venture. So that's the struggle with life, of course.
It is. That's the hardest part, and getting folks to do to believe in what you're doing and to want to be a part of it. I listen. I know what that part is like, and that's the hardest part. For same thing, it's like I've ideas I want to do, and yeah, I got to get out there, and first you got to pay your bills one, and then now you got to get out there and make content and be creative and stuff like that, and yeah, take your time to build out when you're doing any job. So that's the hardest part, I think. But like I said, I'll you just keep asking people, and maybe that's maybe there's someone out on YouTube that might be interested in being a part of it and help build out what you're doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you can't do it by yourself.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? And it took me a while to figure that out. You think you can be everywhere at once, and you can't. And the hardest part is like, letting stuff go and letting people take care of the thing. And when you let and then they have to learn. So there's mistakes that has to happen, and you gotta, keep your cool. And because at the same time, you don't have no one else to call anyway. So
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So, but I find that, over time, it gets easier, so,
for sure. And I
so
like what you said about you're kind of putting a little less thought into it. That's how my channel has been. Like my most popular reel, I think it has like over 2,000 views or something like that.
right, yeah.
And all I did was just had cameras, and I said I didn't even say anything. It's just titled something like trail breaking and rev matching.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Effort into the video other than framing it and posting it. And that's my most successful piece of content I've done on my YouTube channel. And
Dude,
then like when I first started, I put a whole bunch of effort into one of my videos talking about basically how safe a motorcycle can be.
mm-hmm.
Running off all kinds of stats and all that, did all this research, man. I didn't memorize my speech, but I memorized all the facts that I was going to
Right,
talk.
yeah.
Went through that. That thing got maybe 300 views, something like that. So that's where I'm at now with my YouTube. Just trying not to put so much effort or so much time into it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that's the best lesson to learn because, like I said, I like same thing. My shorts that have the most plays are just like rolling in back to the paddock or rolling out to go out to hot pit. It's nothing. I'm not doing anything fancy. No revving, no nothing. Putting on my helmet and zipping up my suit.
Yeah,
It's so that's why, yeah, it's just so, and that's where I am at, just doing simple things and capturing the moment and seeing what happens. I mean, the beautiful thing for me, like, yes, I don't have to pay bills doing it, and I do have the time to do some of it. So and I enjoy it. You know what I mean? Doing radio,
yeah,
it's not something that, like, coming from the band days and stuff like that, I didn't really want to do radio. I had a friend that has a radio station in Boston, and he nagged me for like 2.5 years, 3 years, and finally, I did it. And once I started, it was like I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it a lot because even then it was, I used to DJ and stuff. As you see, I got a turntable in the back, but vinyls. And so for like looking for things, it's almost like going to the record store, going through vinyls because you're looking for stuff that nobody else knows about. You know what I'm saying?
right.
And trying to bring that out and doing that. And so, to come here and do this now, it's I never thought I would, but I it's fun. Enjoy it. And you know, I didn't think I would know as much as I know about motorcycles, but like, I've been following MotoGP, all the classes, all these things, and doing all the stuff, and now it's just like, oh, I got like 10 years of knowledge, and so tying that with doing so like the B4evaKool podcast came about because I did a show called Smoking Rhymes. That was a radio show. We played poetry, talked about poetry, we played undiscovered artists, so pretty much new artists. And then we talked about cannabis as well. And so by breaking that show up, we had this thing called Motorcycle Corner. So we were doing the second hour where I would just do like a little segment. And so one of the guys I do the show with now, I would bring him in and we'd talk about it. But it wasn't the right space. And then that just spun off into, hey, let's just turn this into, its own thing, and we can talk about going to the track and what that's like and all that stuff. And the other thing was like, and I don't know about for you, but when I first got into riding and going to the track, there aren't a lot of people of color, a lot of black people.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
And for me, it's like if my buddy didn't say, "Hey, come to the track," I wouldn't have like thought that was I wouldn't even. I mean, I saw it on TV back in the day and stuff like that, but like I didn't know that was like, oh, we can just go race. You know what I'm saying? And so like. And so I've been fortunate enough now to talk to some other guys, and they're now coming to the track and stuff like that. And so now not to say just to be aware, because again, even like these kids that are riding on the streets on dirt bikes and stuff like that, if these guys can take these bikes to like a dirt bike park or to a track or something like that, the dynamic of the motorcycle community racing wise in the US would be different. You know what I'm saying? Because there'll be more James Stewarts out there and stuff like that riding. You know what I mean? So doing this I also feel good about that, because it is bringing more awareness, because I don't I didn't know about it at one time, and TJ, who's been on the show, like he's a friend of my son, and they just happened to come by my house, and I was showing them the race bikes and stuff and talking to them and invited them up, and then 3 years later I sold him my old race bike, my 07 R6, and now he's up there racing and bringing his buddies up, and they're doing track days and racing and stuff like that. So it's cool to see all that, and like I said, and I was fortunate enough that my friends did the same for me when I first came up.
Yeah, so. That sounds like a great way to get into it, to have people usher you into it. Yeah, I like that.
It definitely makes life definitely a little easier, and as you say, I know, like the motorcycle community to me is like one of the best communities in the world. I mean, I don't know all of them, but like everybody shows each other love. You can your bike could be broken, the guy next to you will give you a part and then go race next to you and stuff like that. It's like if I'm on my bike on the streets and I'm pulled over, people will stop and check and see if I'm good. If I'm on in my car on the street, pull over, nobody's stopping.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? So the community is pretty dope.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, for sure.
So let's, we've been at it for a little bit. Let's, shout out your sponsors. I mean, I definitely want to thank you for coming on and chopping it up with us, because, it was nice to have you on. And definitely, I want to hear some of that poetry at some point. I mean, not poetry, comedy.
I'll give you a link to some of it. But yeah, I don't have any sponsors. I'm still keeping it real small time. But yeah, my channel again is Master Yoshi. Links to my Instagram is on there and everything. And that's all I'm doing for real. Just coaching, a little bit of YouTube coming out here. I mean, a little bit of YouTube content coming in, and trying to stand-up comedy now.
Nice. And when is your next track day or race day?
Let's see. Next track day, I haven't booked it yet, but my last track day was just this past weekend at Barber, so it was a good one. It was a great one. I ended up low-siding. Sucks because I was coaching, so I didn't have a camera going on, so I can't tell exactly what happened.
Okay.
But I think I unloaded my front too much. I was going into turn 16, right-hander, and probably 3 turns prior, it started raining. It wasn't a crazy downpour or nothing, but it was enough to wet the track, I think. And I was on slicks, and I'm conscious of the rain, and I think I might have been coasting too much at lean angle instead of trail braking or anything. Okay. Didn't have the front loaded enough in it. Lost the front, but it was a low-speed crash, so nothing crazy. Broke a clip on my rear sets. And then, like you said, people in the track community, they came up and helped me fix it up real quick at night. So it was a good day.
Nice. I'm going to be out that way in a few weeks. How far are you from Barber? Because, I mean, if you want to race the Pan American Series, you just, as long as you have a race license, it's easy enough to get a license with them, and that series
Okay,
is pretty. I don't know if you've been to any of their races at all. It's the closest thing. Well, not MotoGP anymore because MotoGP now has a sprint on Saturday. So they do
right.
practice and qualifying on Saturday only, and then all the races are on Sunday.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of. I haven't participated in one, but I might go. I might go check it out. Barber's only about 2 hours from me, so
Yeah. If you
if you're gonna be there, yeah, I might pull up and show some love.
Okay, that's what. Well, I'll when I definitely know, I'll let you know and see how it goes. Like I said, I want to thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it, man. My name is Rex45. It's the B4evaKool podcast. We're here tonight with Yoshi.
All right, appreciate you.
All right.